Hi, this is Joe again with another video. I know. A couple of weeks ago, I promised to do this video. We just had the Oscars a couple of weeks ago, and it was a little. I know I'm a little bit behind doing this video, uh, but I kind of promised to do a video on the most forgettable Oscar movies. Uh, Now this, and I'm not gonna do an actual top 10 list. I'm just gonna skip around and mention as many or as few films as I can, and they're not gonna overdo it. It's not gonna be like a 2 part or 3 part video. Just a couple of movies they're gonna be mentioning. Of course, most recent Oscar films. I'm talking about last 10 years or so. Most of them, I have to say, I'm sorry to say, are pretty forgettable films. What I mean by that is they don't have like a huge cult following. They're not constantly airing on television for one reason or another, even on cable. There are movies that are constantly on television. Until the Oscar-winning film like Gone with the Wind used to constantly air on CBS back in the day, for like the 70s and the 80s. But unfortunately now, even a huge cut of Gone with the Wind is on mostly on either on or TCM. Now, unfortunately, but there are at least one Oscar-winning movie that's run constantly on television, and that's The Sound of Music, because that has a huge following. Everybody knows the songs from it, and that knocking Sound of Music is one of my favorite musicals. But it's that one more than any other Oscar-winning film is constantly on television, at least on regular television. There's not that many Oscar-winning films that's constantly on regular television anymore. It's usually on cable. So of course, actually, these Oscar-winning films that unfortunately are being forgotten, and it's really a shame because most Oscar-winning films, like from the 50s or 60s, like Sound of Music is always on playing on television. But it's also films that people don't realize that have a huge following, but never won the Oscar for Best Picture, like E.T. or The Ten Commandments. They lost to movies that now have become pretty forgettable. So I'm going to I know it's a pretty long introduction for this video, so I'm just going to skip around. And most of these videos, or some of these movies I'm going to mention, I have already done a review for. So if you want to see the full review, please check them out on my YouTube channel. If you haven't, or go to valleyseat.com. You can check out my videos over there. One of the more forgotten Oscar-winning films, of course, one of the more recent ones, is the 2000 for the winner for 2005, which is Slumdog Millionaire, which is of course the film that I personally have not seen. I've seen like bits and pieces, but not the whole movie. For Slumdog Millionaire is from India. The movie's based in India, and there was a guy who wanted to impress his girlfriend, and goes on, who wants to be a millionaire, and he ends up going all the way and wins $1 million or £1 million, whatever denomination of money it is in India, or in the Indian version of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And the people, the producers, think that he cheated. And while he's being questioned by the producers and probably the police, the federal government of India, he tells his whole life story about why he did what he did and how he ended up winning $1 million, and how he's able to study for the show and all that type of thing. That movie is like one of the, I would say, lesser known Oscar-winning film, even though it won. Oh wow story! I mean, it's like a stereotypical story, at least here in the United States anyway. And I'm not saying that Slumdog Millionaire is not a good movie. Of course, it's a good movie. It won the Oscar, but not all movies that won the Oscar was a great movie. So that's why he said in my Titanic movie review, Titanic is one of the few films that actually won the Best Picture, actually deserved it. Because you look at all the 89 Oscar-winning films, and you can look at all 89. I'm talking about all 89 movies, and you can say, "God, I can't believe this movie won," or "This movie won," or "This movie didn't win." Because I think it's like more movies that didn't win compared to what movies actually won. Of course, one of the more forgettable Oscar-winning films is one they actually did review, was the 1980 movie Ordinary People. People can't believe this movie won, because it was up against Raging Bull. Because when people have these debates with Oscar-winning films, they always compare it to movies that it was running up against. Ordinary People, of course, that was a movie about a family with a horrible loss. They had two sons. One son died in a boating accident, and the other son felt so guilty about it, trying to kill himself. And was going to a psychiatrist, and the movie actually won because it was a difficult subject to pull off. You could say it was a boring movie or stuff like, or a movie you probably would see like on Lifetime or something, or a movie of the week type deal. But that was a movie that was really, really difficult to pull off, and it was directed by a first-time director who happened to be somebody named Robert Redford. So that movie usually is forgettable or gets passed over because that movie beat out Raging Bull. And so because it were nominated the same year, so people say, "Oh, Raging Bull is so much about movies. It's so much a great movie." I'm not knocking Raging Bull again. I've seen that movie in bits and pieces, not the entire movie. But lost to Ordinary People, and people said, "Oh, people passed that movie over, saying it's lousy because it beat out because Raging Bull was so much about that movie, and that one should have won." But don't overlook Ordinary People as being like a bad movie or god awful movie. That's what I mean by forgettable films that got passed over, because another movie another people, movie buffs, movie geeks, say, "Oh, that's Raging Bull should have won and not Ordinary People. It was a better movie." Because Raging Bull is more memorable, and it is. Because Ordinary People is not that memorable of a film, but Raging Bull is, because it was shot in black and white, and then this was like 1980, and not that many films were filmed in black and white. And the only other big name movie that was shot in black and white was Schindler's List, which was like 13 years late. It came out like 13 years later, and the other one that was The Artist, that won the Academy Award a couple of years ago. That won the Oscar, which is also a forgettable film because, getting back to Raging Bull, because people say, "Oh, that's not a memorable film." It is, but it didn't win for Best Oscar. Ordinary People did. So people got outraged or took it out on Ordinary People, or even Dances with Wolves, which is another film, came out in 1990 because it was up against Goodfellas in the Oscars. So people said, "Oh, this movie is no good." I remember at the time that Dances with Wolves came out, people ragged on it because it was not because it was a 3-hour movie, first of all, and people were ragging on it because they also have subtitles throughout. I would say the second half of the movie, or at least the second half of the movie, you have a lot of subtitles. So people don't want to sit there for watch half the movie, at least half the movie, reading subtitles. So people were ragging over that because of the length, because it is a 3-hour movie, for the length and for the subtitles, and saying that Goodfellas was a bad movie. It's one of those deals that, which one was the better movie? They don't go by which one had the better story. They don't go by that. Or which one had the better story. They go by which one is more. I think it has to do with which one was more memorable film. Which one you quote lines for more. Which one has the bigger cult following. And Goodfellas has a bigger following than Dances with Wolves does. Because it has Indians in there. I mean, it debunked the whole Indians being evil. Like in the movies, like in the westerns. From the 40s, 50s, and 60s, those old westerns where the Indians the villains and the cavalry the heroes. Meanwhile, in Dances with Wolves, it's like the opposite. The Union cavalry was evil and the Indians were good. In that film. So that's probably why a lot of people didn't rag on it, because for that reason as well. One of the other forgettable movies I just mentioned was The Artist. I have not seen this movie, because this one was shot in black and white. It was like two things that made now was a novelty. Number one was shot in black and white. Number two, it was a silent film, which it hadn't been done since the 1920s. That a silent film won for Best Picture. And I think that because of that novelty factor, that's probably why it won. And also, they have such a great, memorable competition for Best Picture in that year. That all this won. One of the other forgettable films that won for Best Picture is, of course, the movie they're going to be ragging on here, Gandhi. I mean, who the hell remembers Gandhi as a Best Picture? Because it is based on a true story. I'm not saying it isn't. But the movie that should have won was, of course, E.T. Which I reviewed E.T. previously. Of course, I ragged on it because I think the reason why E.T. didn't win is because you have Steven Spielberg, who wasn't winning. In those days, Steven Spielberg wasn't winning any awards whatsoever. And I was ragging on E.T. because it's more of a kid movie or a kid-friendly film. And it was ragging on the U.S. government a little bit because they came in, they busted into the house and they captured E.T., they captured the family because they had a space alien in the house. And, making the government bad and these little kids good, and that type of thing. Kids are good, at the adults are bad and stupid and all that type of thing. And it made the most, and that time E.T. made the most money of any other movie in movie history until Titanic and Avatar came along. And Gandhi is based on a true story. It's like at least 3.5 hours long. I think it's one of the longest movies ever that won the Oscar, and it wasn't based on a true story. It was a huge epic. So, and Richard Attenborough directed, who of course later on appeared in Jurassic Park, played John Hammond in Jurassic Park. So of course that movie that had certain prestige, but I don't remember anybody saying, "Oh, he was following Gandhi," because it was. I mean, you're talking about Dance with the Wolves going on forever. That one was worse to the time. I happened to see it at my aunt's house one time, and I was bored to tears. I was completely bored to tears with it. But E.T. is like one of the times that movie didn't deserve to won, and it was Gandhi that won. Of course, one of the forgettable films that actually won was in 1956, All Around the World in 80 Days, which is based on a famous book of the same name. I think H.G. Wells wrote that, I think. Wrote the original novel. Because that movie was up against two, what you consider quote-unquote classics. One was The Ten Commandments, starring Charlton Heston, and the other one was being Giant. There's the movie, both movies I've previously reviewed, starring Elizabeth Taylor and Mark Hudson and James Dean. And of course, what movie more memorable? The Ten Commandments, which is constantly on television, every Easter, or at least Easter weekend on ABC, or Around the World in 80 Days, because that one's more memorable because it is kind of not only is it a great movie, political movie, but it's also a great, it's also kind of campy, some of the lines in the movie, but it is a better movie than Around the World in 80 Days. And the Ten Commandments did win the Oscar for the special effects, but not the Best Picture. And it's definitely a better picture than Around the World in 80 Days. One of the other forgettable Oscar films, which is actually celebrating its 50th anniversary this year, in 2017, and I have previously reviewed it, and that was In the Heat of the Night. So it was Sidney Poitier and Rod Steiger. And Rod Steiger won the Oscar for Best Actor, by the way, for this movie. Sidney Poitier won an Oscar already for, I think, Lilies in the Field. Of course, this was the cop story, and 20 years later, NBC made a television show based on the movie. I didn't even know there even was a movie In the Heat of the Night until some years after the television show was on the air. It was, I think, about 4 or 5 years. I happened to see it on Showtime, and the movie, and I kind of liked it. It wasn't the greatest movie I've ever seen, but In the Heat of the Night I found out when I did research for it, I actually won the Oscar for Best Picture. I didn't even know it was the Best Picture winner. And it beat out The Graduate, actually, for Best Picture. So which one had the biggest cult following? In The Heat of the Night or The Graduate? You gotta say The Graduate because it has more iconic scenes and the lines. I have said one would say to you, and that's Plastics, or Mrs. Robinson, you trying to seduce me. You know, in The Graduate. Of course, in Here in the Night, they had the one line, they call me Mr. Tips. You know, that's the line for the whole movie. And, you know, and of course the interrogation scene they mentioned in that video was, of course, the best scene. But not many people know that Here in the Night actually won for Best Picture. They kind of like overlook it because more people, like for my generation, probably remembers more of the television show than the movie. Because the television show starred Carol O'Connor, you know, Archie Bunker. He goes from being a bigoted white Republican lives in Queens, New York, and all in the family, to playing a bigoted, or initially bigoted, police sheriff from Mississippi. So he doesn't go that far for being he can't get away from being a bigot persona. Even though it was just an actor playing a part. One of the most forgettable films I feel is Argo. The Best Picture. And of course, you know my problems with that. Zero Dark 30 show won that year. So check out my video for Zero Dark 30, and I refuse to watch Argo because people campaigned for that movie more because they made Jimmy Carter the hero in that movie over Zero Dark 30 because they had the torture scenes in Zero Dark 30. That's why he didn't win, because people were campaigning against that movie, and not for Argo. So that's why Argo won, because they didn't get black. Even though it got a lot of stuff wrong, that one got the award for Best Picture. Of course, other movies that were pretty forgettable, was like Shakespeare in Love. It's a forgettable Oscar film. Of course, Crash, which is because they didn't get to Crash yet. Crash is, of course, none of the racial stuff in there. And it goes from like one story to the next. It's like not really one consistent people following couple being targets of racism and stuff like that. But you know, that's what they picked out. It was like a real weak class for Oscar movies, and people were shocked that the movie won because the story was pretty forgettable story. I mean, that movie came out like around the Rodney King thing, and might have not be a forgettable film because of that racial tension going on at that time. I'm not saying there isn't any now, but it was worse. It was more promoted more if it was in the early 90s. But you had movies like Forrest Gump and excuse me, and Schindler's List came out, and of course Philadelphia came out, and all those. You know, Philadelphia didn't win the Oscar for Best Picture, but if Philadelphia came out like in '89 when Driving Miss Daisy came out, that's another forgettable Oscar-winning film. Driving Miss Daisy, because it beat out for Born on the 4th of July, the Tom Cruise film. Because it's about an old lady being chauffeured around by a black guy. Played by Morgan Freeman, and of course, Driving Miss Daisy played by Jessica Tandy, and Jessica Tandy won the Oscar for Best Actress for that role. I thought that was one of the worst Oscar-winning films. One of the worst. I think it because that one beat out Born on the 4th of July, because the guy who directed Born on the 4th of July was Oliver Stone, and he just won the Oscar just 2 years earlier in 1987 for 1986 movies for Platoon. So 3 years later, he comes out Born in 1989, 3 years after Platoon came out, he comes out Born on the 4th of July. So we're not going to win. He just won 3 years earlier. I think it's also the same thing with Zero Dark 30, because Catherine Bigelow directed The Hurt Locker, which came out like 3 years earlier, 3 years before Zero Dark 30, And now here she goes again. She got nominated again for another film, and it's also another reason why she didn't win the second time, because she won 3 years earlier, so it was like too soon. Probably also too soon for her to win. Same thing with Oliver. Even though Oliver Stone won for directing, won 4th of July, but that's about as far as it goes. I think we went a little bit too long to stretch this topic out. So that's my movies for Forgettable Oscar films review. Please click on the video, please rate it. Feel free to comment on it. Please subscribe to my channel, and please forward this video to your Facebook pages. You can check out all my videos on my YouTube channel, valleyc.com. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.